Thank you very much. Indeed, a pleasure being here. And I think one of the main things that is concerning all of us in AIOS, as also everybody in the eastern region, especially the West Bengal Ophthalmological Society, is the future of the conference that is there because of the COVID era. Indeed, I think we had a wonderful glimpse of the venue that you had, which is at your Bangla Bhavan, the new conference venue that has come up. But unfortunately, I would say that COVID has hit us like something, as I said, a bolt from the blue. We were really very impressed with the conference venue, but more than that, I think it was an exceptional team that was working, and I think we were gelling together very well between the AIOS and the LOC. But unfortunately, the problem that is there with the COVID is that the issues of social distancing, physical distancing, etc. are there. There are going to be issues that we are going to discuss. But conferences, I think, were the, I would say, the Kohinoor in AIOS crown. That is a place where we had face-to-face networking, personal exchange of ideas, obviously social networking. You could network with the trade, you could see as to what else is there, and fresh perspective from the COVID issue, that is, do we need to really leave our home ground now? Now, one important thing is that, as is often said, that change is the only constant, and I think COVID has brought about what everybody is calling a new normal. There is a new normal, and you can see that today the airline industry is almost dead. None of the flights, people are stranded, Indians outside, and people here, they can't really go where it is. So there is obviously a resilience that has to come in. But I would say that apart from resilience, there is a new term that is being used, and that is being anti-fragile. So fragility is that you are fragile, you break, you crack. Resilience is that you are able to restore and you be resilient to whatever is happening. But anti-fragility is something where you can actually put the disadvantage to your advantage. And that is something that all of us as organizations should be able to do. And for that, one needs an adaptability that has to be there. Now, as I told you, travel is going to be a problem. One doesn't know as to where the travel is going to lead us, because just now there are several states that have put a quarantine that if you come from hot areas, hot spots, then you have to have a 14-day quarantine or a 7-day quarantine, etc. Flights are not going, international flights are still not on. Now, physical conferences, as you know, as was just being talked about, the OPD, you cannot be sitting next to each other, and the hall capacities that were there would obviously be significantly compromised. And that is an issue which is there. And there are several studies that have shown that auditoriums and congregations, whether it be in churches, whether it be in religious places, whether it is the election campaigning, etc., that is happening by Trump, all these are what is known as super spreaders. You know the classic example that happened in Delhi of the Markaz, and they became the super spreaders. So basically, when you are in a closed hall situation, an auditorium situation with lots and lots of people sitting, that is going to be a problem. There is obviously the logistic problem, which is there is you have the trade people who come, you have the stall people that they have to put up, you have the hangars that need to be put. That is going to be a problem. The issues of the trade wanting to get their equipment from overseas and show that as an exhibition. Now, the public perception is also something which is there. Often you can see in social media and in other media, people have exploited conferences or they have done mudslinging on I would say even ophthalmologists or medical professions, that these are binges that the doctors do, and they are extravagant, spending money, etc., etc. So I think there could be an issue of celebrations among a pandemic that is there. You see even cremations today, not more than 20 people are allowed. You can see marriages, 50 people, etc. So there are restrictions, and if we go ahead and flout those restrictions, it is going to be a problem. The conferences that you are looking at is that virtual conferences have been successful, and I can say with great sincerity that the Zoom platform, we may have the geo equivalent that is there, that is besides the point, but the platforms that we are using, the webinars have improved over time. We can see that there are lots and lots of more people participating in these. And you can also see that we were discussing the other day, I was discussing with a person who's an industrialist. He said, I don't know why we did not discover this before. We had to take long trips to Europe or US, etc., just for a meeting of 2 hours, 4 hours, etc. And now we can have these meetings on the digital space. And the digital space has improved so significantly that we feel as if we are having it face to face. So I think there are great advantages that adversity has brought about. The WOC you saw, ASCRS you saw, I personally participated in the WOC. Virtual conferences have become a success. You can have one-to-one interaction, you have the chat box, you have the question answer session. And above all, what is very, very important is that these are pre-recorded at times. And there is a restriction on the time that is there. Normally in Indian conferences, we rarely stick to the time management that is there, the time that is given. But if you have pre-recorded, then it can be cut to size, that things can be important. Above all, I think you can still remain with your family. You can be at your own home and stay at home and do these virtual conferences. We have several WhatsApp where people have been going to the lavatory and still seeing, and the camera was kept on, so you can see that this is a normal attire that people can have, a relaxed attire that you can have. Now, what is very, very important is that there has been today, if the AIOS budget is say 20-25 crores, I think 20 crores or 16 to 20 crores is the budget for a conference. I think the conference has a lot of extravaganza that is involved in it. There is a lot of money that is spent, and we don't take into account the travel, the stay, etc., that the delegates, etc., pay, or the trade people pay. So I think there is going to be a significant saving, and I think the call of the day today is to be frugal and to save, because there is a massive downturn in the economy that is happening. Obviously, there are some economists who are saying that green shoots are there and it will be a V-shaped recovery. But as things stand today, I think all of us have been hit, and hit very badly, especially in the ophthalmic space where our work is down to 30-40%. I think that's what Dr. Lalit meant was that we expect a 60 to 70% reduction in our work, and we are at 30 to 40% that is there. Now, the other important thing is that there is also the possibility of having more and more people involved in the virtual conferences. And I would say that it also helps democratizing conferences where we have the system of allotment of conference to A place, B place, C place, D place. That would actually be out of the window, because it's a very more better way of organizing a conference without having any regional bias or anything like that. Now, I think the other important thing is that you can easily record all these conferences, and they are available on the digital platform. And if you see the attendance that is there in several of our meetings, I think the meeting that we did for the COVID, etc., the attendance has gone up. I don't know what it is today, but even within one day of the meeting, it had gone up to 20,000 plus. You can never ever imagine such a participation that is there, and the whole thing being on the digital space where you can see it up to the next 2, 3, 4 months, years, etc., whenever you want, that is there. Now, the virtual conference platforms are improving over time. And these are where you can see all of the people. You can have 10 people, 20 people being shown live as to what they are talking, and talking one at a time. So you have a chat box, you have a question answer type, you can mute anybody. So it's not a free floating like a Arnab Goswami debate that people have. So you can actually work on a much more civilized manner to have the conferences. Now, the other important thing is that there have been special booth lectures that are there, which can be done in the conferences. You have people who have to attend a particular session going and walking through a pavilion where there are trade spots, and you have the possibility of one-to-one interaction with the trade people, and they can answer questions. So there is a lot that has happened, and I think FOMO is a word that all of you who have worked with the entrepreneurs, private equity, etc., fear of missing out. I think that the anxiety that an exciting or an interesting event may currently be happening elsewhere, often aroused by posts seen on a social media, I realized I was a lifelong sufferer of FOMO. I think the conference organizers at times have a FOMO, that is a fear of missing out. I think equal participation, having as many webinars as you have with great attendance, with maximum participation, a lot of speakers, would be a real positive that we can have if we think out of the box. I wouldn't say out of the box, it's something which I will say is the new normal that is there. I think there is also the good thing that you don't have to physically walk from one hall to another, get tired with a bag hanging on your back, a laptop being carried, etc. You can easily switch between sessions, and which is can be much more seamless that is there. So I would say you can have a dedicated event manager, somebody who controls your audio visual. Yes, there may be some glitches, but as we go along, I think they are going to improve. And ultimately, I think virtual conferences would be the way to go. I think it has come as a shock to us when we said that we cannot have physical conferences, but I think there are lots of positives that are there in virtual conferences that are there that you can have. Now, the audiovisual professionals, technicians, you can play with it. So therefore, the outcomes can be much better. That is there. The amount of fiber bandwidth that you have is much more significantly than what it was. And you can have the preview room replaced by a test streaming desk, etc. So that is very important. If all the classes today, I just happened to be with my daughter and my son-in-law and my grandson. It was my son-in-law's birthday. So my grandson was having all his classes on the net, on the digital world, and the teachers were teaching. If classes can be held on the digital world, why not conferences? I think that is something very important that we have. So I think there is obviously the issue of hacking, etc., which is there, that one has to learn, that is there in any digital space. But I think the future is that the virtual conferences would be the way to go. Selling a virtual conference, making it more popular also on the digital space is very easy. Emails, SMS, WhatsApp, etc., where a person can actually choose to be listening to it while doing another activity also, which you can't do when you're doing a physical conference. You have to actually take out 6 days from your calendar, which may or may not be possible. So I think when the situation is such, you have to be anti-fragile, not just resilient, but anti-fragile. And when we embrace the awkward, we'll get the experience of the awesome. I think that is something that one has to be open-minded, broad-minded, and one has to actually see the merits of what it is. And we have to embrace the awkward, as has happened with the COVID-19 situation. So this is just a small replica of a conference that was held on the digital space. This is the diabetics. So you can see this has been held in India, and there are several companies that are wanting to do. So you have the exhibition hall, you can run through the exhibition, you can go through this. Booths have been decided. This is individual customized stalls, view media, chat with the exhibitors, etc. All these things can be done, and you don't have to actually waste your energy and time traveling. All branding options, you can have the AIOS get the sponsorship amount, you can have boardrooms, you can have individual discussions, you can have breakfast meetings, whatever you want. All those one-to-one meetings can be done. So I think we have to be open to this particular situation. The situation has brought about a lot of changes in everybody's life, and we have to adapt to win. So that is my brief thought as to what the future of conferences would be, which would be possibly on the digital space, or at best, it could be a hybrid conference that one can look at. Thank you very much for your kind attention.